Well. You remember that guy or that company that got hired by the Canadian government to make an app that was supposed to cost maybe $250,000? Turns out that costed over $60 million of taxpayers' money. Well, the Conservatives have been hounding these people for time and time again. And it turns out that one of them actually got their house raided very recently by the RCMP. And you know who's next, or who should be contacted next? Freeland. That's not my opinion. That's Conservative MP Michael Cooper's opinion, and he actually tables this in Parliament. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely insane. But before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Now, you may not be able to protect yourself from a raid with the RCMP, but you can definitely protect yourself online, which is why I have partnered with Private Internet Access for today's sponsor. Here we go. This video is brought to you by Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together and are willing to offer my audience 83% off using the code House of Canada, which can be found linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. There's no easy way of putting this. Justin Trudeau is trying to censor the internet, and he's trying to implement a digital ID. And the only way that you can actually really protect yourself online is through a VPN. And my go-to VPN is Private Internet Access. Now, those who don't know what a VPN is, it acts as a way to encrypt your data, which means that all the big tech companies, including the government, can't access your information. Your information bounces around from IP address to IP address, and it doesn't just act as a way to protect yourself, but it's also a way to access content which you wouldn't regularly be able to get because of geolocation restrictions, such as Netflix or Disney. I know a lot of people in Canada want to access the American stuff, and the only real way to do that is with a VPN. And it is so user-friendly with Private Internet Access. You can have it on your phone, your tablet, all of your devices, your computers, etc. Just be sure to use House of Canada as your code, which should be linked down in the description or the pinned comment below, to get yourself 83% off with Private Internet Access. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video.
Madam Speaker, this week the RCMP raided the home of the Prime Minister's top arrive scammer, Christian Firth. The raid is connected to a proposal that Firth's GC Strategies sent to the Deputy Prime Minister and her former Chief of Staff, Jeremy Broadhurst. So, what communications did the Deputy Prime Minister and her office have with GC Strategies regarding a proposal that has led to an RCMP raid?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, again, just because my colleague on the other side of the aisle repeats something doesn't necessarily attach it to the facts. The facts, Madam Speaker, in this case are well known. The RCMP, the one thing that he said is that's entirely factual, is the RCMP are looking into this matter. And that's why I would urge people to be careful before they invent things and ascribe things to what is an ongoing police investigation. Our government has said that people have a responsibility to be judicious with taxpayers' money, and those that aren't will face the consequences.
Remember St. Albert Edmonton.
Madam Speaker, the two-person basement company GC Strategies received more than $100 million from this NDP government, including $20 million for nothing on Arrive Scam. We know of a link between GC Strategies and the Deputy Prime Minister and her office regarding a proposal that has led to an RCMP raid. So, has the Deputy Prime Minister been contacted by the RCMP, and will she fully cooperate with the police investigation?
Again, Madam Speaker, my friend on the other side simply asserts a series of things that he knows very well are not accurate, and attempts to connect a series of dots that simply can't be connected.
Yeah, that's obvious.
He should stick to the basic facts. The RCMP, following information that was given to them by the Border Services Agency, has decided to look into a series of allegations. They obviously take their work very seriously, and we should allow Canada's National Police Force to do their work and not simply make up stuff in the House of Commons beside the work that they're doing.
If you like that one, then you're definitely going to like what we have next. We got some Pierre and Trudeau hot debate highlights. Stick around for the full video, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I do.
You know that the status quo is unacceptable, that Canada has become an unfair country where young people, an entire generation, cannot afford a home and families cannot afford food. And if he finds out who's been running this place for the last 9 years, there will be hell to pay. Will the Prime Minister complete his investigation and tell us who's been in charge for the last decade?
Great job, Pierre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
When we first got elected, we raised taxes on the wealthy.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when we got elected, first thing we did was raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% and lower them for the middle class, a measure that the Conservative Party voted against. We've continued to invest in young people, invest in standing up a national housing strategy after the previous government had completely ignored housing, and the former housing minister, who is now leader of the opposition, was responsible for creating exactly 6 affordable homes in his time as minister. We've continued to invest, and we're going to continue to make sure that the economy is fair for every generation, and that means asking the wealthiest to pay a little more so we can put more money in the pockets of the middle class.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has got to stop getting his facts from his incompetent housing minister's Twitter account. Yeah. The same guy who, as immigration minister,
Lost a million people.
Track of 1 million people. When I was housing minister, we built 92,782 new apartment units with an average rent of $973. How many apartments will the Prime Minister build at the price of $972 a month this year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, our housing plan is the most ambitious and comprehensive in Canada's history, and will unlock close to 4 million homes by 2031. This happens because we're working with municipalities, we're working with provinces to increase the levels of ambition. We've put out the most comprehensive and ambitious housing plan this country has ever seen, because we know that making sure the young
And it still sucks.
making sure we change the way homes are built in this country is about building a stronger future for everyone in this country. That's what fairness for every generation looks like. That's what this government is focused on, while they're focused on cuts.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, we will cut the rent. When I was Minister of Housing, we paid half as much for rent in Canada that we pay today. And on that question of his ambitious housing plan, I decided to read all about it in their 2015 platform. They said, "We will make it easier for Canadians to find an affordable place to call home." That was 9 years ago.
No way.
Doubled the cost since that promise was made, and then they repeated the promise yesterday. Why do we expect the same promise with the same programs and the same Prime Minister to be kept this time?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I was in Vancouver a few weeks ago to speak with young people about the fact that we're supporting renters with greater protections and making sure that the money they spend every month on rent actually gets counted in their credit score so they can help get a mortgage on into the future. Our housing plan will unlock
That plan will never work.
7 million new homes by cutting red tape, by reforming zoning, by lowering costs of home building, by using public lands and vacant government offices for housing. We're making it easier to save up for a tax-free for a down payment. We're helping end chronic homelessness and make homes more affordable. We're going to continue doing the work.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, he's going to turn public buildings and land into housing. Wonder where he got that idea. Well, actually, it was, let me quote,
Pierre's.
"Conduct an inventory of all federal lands and buildings that could be repurposed and make some of these lands available at low cost for affordable housing." That is from his 2015 budget. And now, 9 years later, he can only point to 13 homes on those public lands. And yesterday, he promised a rapid review of all the federal land portfolios. Rapid review. How rapid? Another 9 years?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we made a choice. We made a choice to invest in Canadians, and that started when we took office because the previous government had not invested in Canadians, continued to choose cuts to services, continued to choose austerity over the kinds of investments that a confident country should be making in its citizens. And that's where we have stepped up, and that's where we are stepping up right now to make sure that young people have the opportunities to build a strong future themselves by asking the wealthiest 0.1% to pay more in taxes. Unfortunately, the Leader of the Opposition continues to stand with the ultra-wealthy while we stand with...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Named immigration for housing costs and the immigration minister who caused it all. Then he made that minister responsible for housing. Since that time, that minister has a $4 billion housing accelerator that he admits will not build any homes, no specific homes. And in fact, since it began, housing starts have gone down this year, and his housing agency says they'll go down next year and the year after that. How is it the Prime Minister can spend $4 billion on a housing accelerator that decelerates home building?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
He's definitely great at losing money.
Accelerated because it stands in direct contrast with any plan that the Leader of the Opposition has put forward to pick fights with municipalities and provinces on housing. We're actually stepping up with investments that are allowing for more densification, for 4 units as of right, to make sure there's better use of public lands, including by municipalities and provinces, by making sure we're changing the math around building affordable homes to unlock millions of homes over the coming years. This is the work that we're doing right across the country with people who are ambitious about solving the housing crisis. If the Leader of the Opposition doesn't want to help solve it, he needs to keep getting out of the way.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it was solved when rent was $973 a month, Mr. Speaker, until he came along. But more proof that he is not worth the cost after 9 years. He's blaming the whole world. If the world is to blame for the housing problems in Canada, then why is it that housing here is 50 to 75% more expensive than in the United States? Why is it that housing costs have risen faster than in any other G7 country relative to incomes? Why is it that we have the fewest homes per capita despite having the most land and the most lumber? Why? Is it him?
It is him. Absolutely.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite well knows that Canada's population is growing faster than our fellow countries around the world, and that is a good thing. It is a good thing that we continue to draw in people to be successful.
That's a misleading statement. It's not Canadian born, it's immigrants.
Even as the world is faced with challenges around inflation, disrupted supply chains, getting over the pandemic, conflicts and shifting geopolitics, Canada is actually on solider footing fiscally than any of our other G7 partners, with a lower debt to GDP ratio, a lower deficit, and a continued focus on creating the jobs and the future that Canadians need.
That is where we're going to end today's video, folks. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. On your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.